Hi, good afternoon. This is Ira Monco. I'm the Chief Solutions Architect here at Onboard.Informatics. And essentially what that means is I'm your technical liaison to all of our products, data, and services. You're always welcome to reach out to me directly with any questions that you have. And so I want to cover quite a bit of material today, so let me go ahead and jump right in. But I just want to say, if you miss anything or you need to bail, we're going to record this and put it up on YouTube, so you can always go back and check it out at a later time. So what we're looking at today is a PHP application that I wrote on top of one of our APIs. And that API is the property API, which is built on county tax assessor records. There's about 150 million records nationwide. And so I put together this application to help you familiarize yourself with that API and hopefully maybe even be a starting point for you. So there is a live instance of that application out at Onboard.Rocks. You're welcome to go check that out on your own. But we're going to go ahead and go in here, and you can go ahead and start typing an address. So 66 9th Street, and that's in Hermosa Beach, California. Go ahead and select that. And what happened there is we hit the API, returned the results back, and here we are looking at it. So this is all the information about the subject property. You can actually, I sent in a default radius of 0.01 miles, and that only returned one record. But if you wanted to expand that, say 0.05, we're hitting the API again, and you'll see we have 32 records coming back this time. So you can actually just scroll down through here, and on the hover event, it will change the markers. And for any one of these records, you can actually make subsequent API calls and return back things like the sales history. So here we see this property has 2 sales history records. On average, we go back about 10 years. You'll notice here the first one is appears to be a resale. The second one is a non-arm's length sale. What that means is sometimes when a transaction is between family members, or perhaps it's just a title changing hand, those records will be in the database as well. If you want, you can certainly just exclude those in your interface. If you're, let's say you wanted to show like current market conditions, you may not want to display that. We have the county tax assessment. So there's all the information that's coming back from that API call. And we also have the an AVM for each of those, for a lot of those properties. There's about 90 million records available via AVM, and there's all the information. Because we had 32 results in this record set, we're displaying the first 10 and paginate right through there. The API has pagination built in, so I also added it to this application. So there we go. And I believe that's should be pretty straightforward. Like I said, you're welcome to go ahead and take a look at it. So let's actually get into the application itself. Like I mentioned, it is up on GitHub. So you're welcome to go over there and grab it. GitHub.com, Ira-Monco, and Onboard.Rocks. So I have you know, the README that describes what the application is, some of the features, the requirements. I built this on Apache. It uses PHP. You'll need curl to make the calls to our API turned on. Mod read-write for the URL structure, and Composer, which is a PHP application that will go out and actually grab the dependencies. This application uses a handful of other scripts, and that will go ahead and pick those up for you. Instructions on how you could set it up on a number of different machines, Ubuntu, Windows, or OS X. I'm actually on a Windows machine, so I went ahead and downloaded LAMP, and that's what I'm running here. It's a very easy way to get set up with Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So a screenshot where we were just looking at. The installation instructions, which I'll go through in just a second, a little description on how the application works. And the way this application is, it's actually a framework that I went out and found. It's a pretty lightweight framework. I chose PHP because the majority of our clients are actually using PHP. And I wanted to keep it fairly lightweight and easy to use. A lot of the code within the framework is very similar to native PHP, so there shouldn't be a large learning curve there. And it's built on with the MVC paradigm. So those who aren't familiar, that's the model view controller, and I'll give you an analogy. So if you think about a vehicle, the drivetrain of the vehicle is equal to the model. The model is where we're making all of our connections to data, so it's our data access layer. And then on top of that, you have a chassis or the controller. And so the drivetrain is connected to the chassis. The chassis kind of or the controller is your router that defines how the application logic works. And then on top of the chassis, you have the body or the view. And that kind of describes the look and feel of it. And the reason I did this, or the reason that developers use this paradigm now, is it decouples all these pieces. So if you can imagine, with a single drivetrain and chassis, you could actually have several different types of vehicles, right? So you could have different color bodies, you could have different body styles. Maybe it's a two-door, maybe it's a four-door. Or maybe you have a single model car and you have different engine types or different drivetrains, right? And so you can make changes to each one of those components without necessarily affecting the others. Let's just go back and I'll actually walk you through what that looks like in a flow diagram here. So the web browser makes a call. It hits our web server, in this case Apache. The request goes into the controller, which is the index page. The controller sends the request over to the model, the data access layer, and in this case, we're hitting the API. The API sends information back to the controller, which knows which view to grab. So let's jump into actually downloading this app and installing it locally, and hopefully some of this will start making a little bit more sense. Whatever way that you choose to get it off of GitHub, in this case, I went ahead and just downloaded it to my desktop. I'm going to go ahead and extract that into sorry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and extract that into my WAMP www folder so that my web server can see it. And we'll go there and take a look at it. And there it is, Onboard.Rocks-master. I have another instance of it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that name the same. You can certainly change it, and you'll see how to do that in just a second. We'll go ahead and open that up. And you'll see the composer.json file. I have Composer for Windows installed on this machine, so I can right-click and actually do a Composer install. So what that's doing is that's going out to GitHub, and it's grabbing the other scripts that I'm using within the application, and it's loading them up locally. And so you'll see that working right there. We can go ahead and exit out of that, and if you notice, before we had the onboard folder and the public folder, and now we have the vendor folder, and there are the other scripts. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to add the instructions so that our web server knows where to look for it. And in this case, I will go into WAMP, bin, Apache, the configuration, extra, and look for the vhost file. So I'll just go right-click that, open it up in the text editor. you'll see here I have the other instance of Onboard.Rocks running locally already. So I can copy that and just go ahead and paste it and make sure I change this to point to that new instance. Go ahead and save that. Now, when I did that, I need to make sure that I reboot the web server so that it will load up those configurations. So I'll just go ahead and restart all the services on my web server. And I also need to change the host file on my local machine so that when I'm in a browser and I type in that folder name, it will just show up. It makes life a little bit easier. So just go in and change my host file. Once again, I can just grab a pre-existing configuration there, change this to master, save that. Windows is going to bark at me because that's an important file. And now, we can go ahead and test that. And hopefully, if I do Onboard.Rocks, master, and if I spell it right, there we go. It's running locally. Now, however, before I can actually hit the API, I need to make sure that I put in the API key. So you can go ahead and go to developer.onboard-apis.com and sign up if you don't already have an account. I do, so I'm going to log in. When I log in, the first page I see here, this landing page, shows me activity on my API calls. You can come up here to the account and applications. If you didn't already have one created, if you didn't, you can just go ahead and create a new application. That will generate your API key. So I'm just going to copy that. Jump into a text editor or an IDE, whatever. I use Komodo. So there's Onboard.Rocks-master. I want to get into the public folder, and the configuration is in the index.php file. So right towards the top, we have this configuration array that loads up when the app starts running. So I just need to paste that key in, save that, come back down to my browser. This is my local copy, and I should be able to type in that same address that I did before and get the exact same results. Nice. So there it's running locally. So let's dive into what's actually happening under the hood. So we'll come back to the IDE. So like I said, MVC, the first thing that is going to happen when the request, where am I? When the request comes in from the browser, it hits the web server. You saw that in the configuration. It goes to the controller, the index.php, right? So that first time it comes in, what happens here is at the root, it says it's going to go ahead and render what these, they're called twig files because I'm using the Slim framework. And essentially those are just templates. And so those are contained within the onboard folder, which I'm not seeing here. Oh, there we go. All right. So within the onboard folder is basically just our app folder. So we have a view subfolder, and here's where all our templates are. So the index twig, really basic. There's really not anything happening here other than me loading up the Google Places API so I can use the type ahead. And then when that next request goes through, right, and I actually make a request to an address, and what it's doing is it's calling up property-records search. So let's see what's happening there. come back to our controller, index.php. So here it is. It's saying property records, and that's a group because we have multiple calls that are happening within that page. Search, and then I'm basically just stripping apart the parameter, the query string, right, and grabbing out the addresses. And the next thing that I do is, assuming that an address was passed, it passes my error handling. What I want to do is I want to load up an array by calling the model, right, our data access layer. So in this case, send it over to the model, calling the search property by address function. So let's come back into our app folder, and within the model, there's our model. We need to look for the search property by address, right? So it's passing it in there. We build the API URL, and our API is a RESTful call, so it's pretty easy. Just build that URL, and then pass it to a single function, which curls it to our API. And assuming that we get a good result set back, right? Result set status code equals 0. That means that it was successful. We're going to go ahead and render the search results template. And so we'll go take a look at that. And here we are, search results. And so, you know, the nice thing is we've taken out the majority of all the application logic, and we're not making any database calls or API calls in here. And so now we can just focus on taking the array and displaying it, right? So you'll see, you know, we're just going to scroll right through the property array and display those values out. The next thing that we have available to us is here's the pagination call that I was making, and that's a singular function. We also, what I'm doing is I'm using some AJAX so I don't reload the pages for the things like the sales transactions, the assess value, and the AVM, and you'll see those calls here. Once again, when you click on those and it does the AJAX, it goes right back to the controller, hits the model, gets the data from the API, comes back, and in each case has its own specific template. So there's the AVM template. And so that is, you know, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, it's a, like I said, it's a fairly simple, straightforward application designed to help you get familiar with it. If you wanted to, you could actually take this and use it as a starting ground for your own, and just change the look and feel of what it looks like. I'm certainly interested in hearing your feedback, and I also intend on continuing to build out this application. So if you have any ideas or if there's something that you've been thinking about, I'd be interested in hearing that, and perhaps incorporating that into what we have here. So with that, let me go ahead and open it up. We have probably about 10 minutes here for questions if anybody has any. So if you want, you can go ahead and within the toolbar for GoToWebinar, there's a questions block. You can go ahead and type in your questions there. And I see we already have some, so let me go ahead and try to. All right, so the first question that I see here is, does the app support zip code search? So the way I currently set it up is it is doing the search by address, but it would be very simple to do a zip code search. So let me actually, one of the things that I haven't shown you yet, and if you haven't started working with this API, you'll see it in the documentation. We have some Postman examples for you. And Postman is a Google app, I believe, which helps you fire off API calls. And so what we did is we've loaded up all of these API calls so you can start taking a look at it. This one that we're looking at right now is essentially the API call that I'm making with this app, which is the property. Give me property details by an address, right? So what you do here is once you get your API key, you just need to drop it here into the header. If you want, you can change the parameters. Click on params, come in here, change the address to whatever you want, then click send. That fires it off, and here you'll see what it actually looks like. So let me see if we have one here by a zip code. All right, sales by postal code within a sale amount. Yep, make sure I have my correct API key. I'll go ahead and send that request, and there we go. This is sales by the postal code of 10306 with sales amount between 100,000 and 500,000. Hope that answered your question. Will this recording be made available after? Yes, we will certainly record. We're recording this, and we're going to throw it up on our YouTube, so you can go ahead and take a look at it there. And like I said, you're welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. My email is imonko@Onboard.Informatics, and that's actually also listed down here at the bottom of this GitHub page. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the questions here. Does this app support? Can you talk about the AVM that is calculated? Yes, so we are actually partnering with CoreLogic on this application, and they're the ones that are providing the AVM values that we have within the system. There are a few other fields that we're including along with the AVM, which we calculate just to make things a little bit easier. So if there is if you have any ideas or suggestions on what you would like to see, you know, I'm certainly interested in hearing that, and we'll hopefully get it added to our product roadmap. Does your API identify the source of each piece of data? So all of the data that we're looking at right now within this property API, like I said, we're partnering with CoreLogic. Some of the columns are onboard calculated. I'm not sure that we have that identified within the documentation, but I will certainly pass that along to the product team as a suggestion. And is there plans to add additional data? Yes. So there are certainly plans to keep building out on the property API. We also are currently working on adding all of our other APIs and data sets into this new developer portal that we have available. So you'll be able to come here and actually start accessing things like our community data, our school data, sales trends, you know, all the other data sets that we have available, local amenities in this portal. But if you are interested in any of those today, you know, certainly reach out to me, and I'll see what I can do about getting those available to you. As far as adding other information and data to Onboard.Rocks, yes, like I said, I intend to continue building on this, and so I would like it to be a single sort of cohesive application. I think that's probably one of the best ways that I certainly understand how things work. So like I said, if there's something specific that you would like to see, then let me know, and hopefully I can incorporate it into this application in a webinar just like this. So with that, I think, oh, I got one more question here. Number of calls. How many? So with the developer, via this developer portal, when you sign up for a free developer account, I think you get 500 calls a day. If you have a specific use case that you think you need more than that, certainly reach out to me and we can discuss that. But the intent there is to certainly get you started and get you access to the information so that you can start building today. How often is your AVM data refreshed and recalculated? So the entire data platform is updated on a weekly basis, and the way CoreLogic does it is they're rolling updates so that they aren't necessarily as data becomes available at the county level. Our partner CoreLogic is going out and gathering it and bringing it in. So the data platform is constantly being updated. Any more questions? I'll give you guys just a quick second here. Okay, I believe that is all. Oh, here we go. In the results, is there a confidence measure? Yeah, there certainly is. So let's come back here. I believe, yeah. So in this AVM, you'll see here the automated value for this property is $1,262,253. We actually give you a range that it falls within, and a confidence score of 75. We also tell you the percent change over the previous month, and we do some calculations for you, so you don't necessarily have to do the math yourself. Okay. Is there a confidence that the address matches the search address? Great question. So the way I built this out, and I just did this for usability, is I wanted the end user to have a very easy method of finding an address. So I use Google's type ahead. And when I get the result set back, I'm basically doing a comparison on the street address. And so if it's a match, then I'm deciding that that is the subject property. Now, we do have within the result set, there is a value that will tell you the distance. Because essentially what we do is when you send in an address, we take that address, we geocode it, and we give it a lat long, and then we find the result set. We're doing a point radius search, and we know the distance from that point that you sent in to all the other results. So you could use that as a method of defining the subject property in case the spelling of Google's street address and our street address wasn't the same. But yeah, that's how that's happening. All right, I have a few more questions here, but we're just out of time. So what I will do is actually we plan on sending a follow-up email, and I'll recap some of the questions we had and follow up with these. Like I said, if you missed anything, you know, you can go back to YouTube, and I also look forward to hearing from you guys. So certainly reach out to me. Once again, the email address is imonko@onboardinformatics.com. Thank you for your time today, and look forward to hearing from you. All right, take care.